Okay, and now if I were to go here and go over here, do a okay, well that's not working. How in the heck? Okay. Oh, it is. Oh, wait. Oh, hey. So if I go over here and like I do. Okay, well, okay. So where is the OBS? Are you doing OBS stuff? Oh, it is. Oh, wait. Oh, hey. There's a delay. Okie dokie. Neato. Okay, let's just start doing stuff. Let's see, so we're gonna do a new thing. So, what do I even want this thingy to do? God, I doubt even... That's whatever, man. So I want to hold on to these paints. So let's pull up the paint models I made. I am... Shy guy, just making stuff, so I don't really show off stuff that I've already made. Oh my god. That's right. They want me to use their own integrated PDM. That's lame. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna go to this bad boy. And we're gonna hold that, or open this thingy up with my lovely naming conventions. I guess I probably should start talking while I do this crap. And then this thingy, what was I even, oh yeah, that's right. I was trying to like just get them first situated and figure out how I wanted it done. So if I go into this thing, really, I don't want 6, I just want 5. So let's edit this linear pattern, just right click on it, do that. Okay, let's make it 5, and I think it'll break something. Oh my gosh. I think it's gonna break something, if I remember right. It's probably a merge. Yeah, it's that one. So if I go here, and then I just, no, it's not that one. I want to edit this guy. Come on. There you go. There you go. Just update it. Because I got rid of a feature, and this is just what merges them to be into a solid feature. So, like, real quick, for all the 0 people who are watching, let's go. Make a feckin' hex over here. And this is like a standard feature to design legitimately. It's not that hard. It's using simple tools. In your sketcher, you have this fancy polygon tool to make a hex. And you can either choose the circumscribe or what are the differences? It's circumscribed or oh no, they're just all, yeah, inscribed or circumscribed. That's right. Inscribed, you define the circle that's inside it, so that's the smallest distance between the edges, or between the sides, not the edges. And circumscribed just means that the circle's on the outside, so the edges go to it. So that'll define the largest size of it. And it just kind of depends on what you're doing for it. So for this guy, I'm trying to make it a paint holder for miniature paints. Like Vallejo paints is what I'm using, and they're like 25mm bottles in diameter. A little smaller than that, but you just gotta... 25 is close enough. It's nominal. Like, I mean, it's smaller by like a few tenths of a millimeter, which is enough that it's worth worrying about, but not enough that it's really worth worrying about. Any hoozles, get this thingy extruded my doodad on here. It's just a wall with also the idea being that it intersects. I'll show you my intention for it in a sec. Do a linear pattern here, which is just saying, hey, all these instances just go whip, and it just populates them like that. Honestly, you could also add some fancy automation into it to make it fun, but eh. And then intersect is just to make it one solid feature, because it's just a little easier. And we're just gonna do a Control S. If you saw up there, there was like a little star there. That's just reminding you it's not saved, and be a little scared about doing any major changes. So anyway, we have this thingy-majigget now. Now, this is the other thing that I made the other day. Just trying to remember all the stuff I did. So if we go in here, let's hide off this sketch first, and I can kind of show you what I was doing. So first off, I was just extruding just a box, just a big dumb solid box, with the idea being that it's centered. That's what this line is. You can, again, in the sketch tool, you have different versions of rectangles. And if I was doing this properly, I would have started off from this point, but here we are. So anyway, I could have done a center point rectangle, but I didn't really feel like adding those lines, you know? So we just did these other bits. And yeah, I just didn't want to do it that way. I had a different thought for it, and then I changed my mind for how I want to place it. And it's not a big issue at the start on figuring out how you want different things to be placed. It's just important that you're consistent. So like, one of the big things that I always try to figure out is where I want the origin of my model to be. Now the origin in CAD design, let's just wipe it all the way back, and you can, okay, well, I guess I have to change what I can see. So let's turn on this so you can see my base planes, and then you can also see view origins. There we go. That should, so if I unhide this bad boy, there we go. So you can kind of see what's going on here. At the start of a design, like here, let's just make a new frickin' part. Well, let's start off with this. I'll show you a new part in just a sec. I'm just trying to remember where I was, because that's the other thing. It's like similar to coding, where commenting stuff is helpful. Like having things like in my model tree like this, where it's boss extrude 1, cut extrude 1, sketch 3, sketch pattern 1. Like, those are just auto-generated things. They just say, here's this item, here's the time you made it, and all that. You can edit them. But that's getting ahead of myself. I don't really have a plan for this. It's legitimately just like if people ask questions. And granted, nobody's watching, so it's all good, you know? It's all okay. But any hoozly doozlies. So if you go down here, so you have your 3 defining planes for it. You have your front, top, right plane. These things can kind of change depending on the software you use, but it's kind of just SolidWorks is pretty standard for how it's done. Like what your X, Y, and Z mean. I've worked with other CAD software. One of them that I spent a lot of time with is Creo, and it just flips the coordinates. But regardless, these are just telling you, here are your 3 basic planes in your 3 like different directions for 3D space, right? And that's just your building blocks for starting it off. And then you have your origin here, which is just, this is the 0, 0, 0 of your model. For any software that'll read in this model, this be the center of that part in particular. So I like to always think about how I design my parts and how they're positioned relative to all this stuff. Because, like, you know, you're given these things, and it's worthwhile just using them, because every single model is going to have them. Every single model that you create, because this is just standard. I didn't even make this starter model. This is just, if I make a new model, it comes with all this stuff pre-built in. So I just made sure that I'm trying to figure out how I want to use them, because when you start to go into your assembly, it gives you like a good chain of reference crap. So that way you can like modify bits inside of here without messing with stuff. And I'll show you that in a sec when we go back to the next bit. But anyway, this is the first bit. This is me getting this extrusion made. This is the main extrude, and an extrusion is just saying, hey, you get this 2D sketch, let's give it volume. Just pull it up from a frame. So if you were to actually see like me edit this guy, like you see how I have this arrow here and I can like go like that. I don't actually want to do that. I already got the height set. I don't remember what I set it as. It was 90. Ah, yeah. I'll show you why in a sec. It's for the paint bottles, because again, the ones I'm trying to use are for Vallejo, but I also have like some Citadel pots and other stuff that I want to get in there too, because, you know, it's just, I have different types of paint for different things to do with the miniatures. But anyway, you go here, you got this hex, right? You got this whole, that's another extruded hex. And if we go into the dimensions for it, if I was thinking, aha, it's set to 28 millimeters, because if I were to pull up that original hex that I designed, it ended up being 28 millimeters since I made each wall 3 millimeters wide for it. Because 3 millimeters, if like I work in inches, if that's an easier translation for you, 3 mils is about like 1/8 of an inch minus like 7 thousandths. So it's like barely. It's a difference for engineers. It's not a big difference in the real world. It's a difference that if you're to like zoom in on your CAD close enough and get lost in the sauce. So let's not get lost in the sauce. Anyhoozles. Yeah. And then the other bit that I have here is just spacing from the side, because I want the side walls to be 5 mils thick on each side. Granted, this is probably a more important feature to center everything around. And there's a few ways that I could have done this, but this is the way I did it. And I'm just kind of stubborn, if that makes sense. Like, legitimately, there are a few other ways to do it. You could have started off by making this hex as an extrude and then like doing the negative of it into a box like this, but this is how I do it. I just did a cut into a box because I like doing cuts into boxes. This next bit here, this is my defining sketch. So this sketch is for this pattern down here. I want to be able to like have about 5 rows of paint, and since they're hexes, they need to be staggered to have ultimate packing efficiency. So I just got them staggered, and like I did a few fancy things here. So the first thing I did was I used this circle to help figure out where the center of this hex is. So if I were to move this guy later, it still follows along with it, as well as having this line here to define the diameter of that circle. Again, I could hard type it in as a dimension at 28. No reason you couldn't do that. It's just I prefer to limit the amount of dimensions I have in a sketch to only the ones that are defining it, because for most assemblies you can break it down into like a handful of critical dimensions and then just ones that you don't really need to worry about. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Like this diameter of that hex is already set somewhere else. I don't need to redefine it again because it would just cause my design to break if I want to make any changes. And it's just kind of future proofing, in all honesty. But anyway, this line defines this length, all of these line lengths. Not this line length actually. This one's funny. And actually, wait, no, does it define this line length? Oh, it just does. It defines all the lengths. It's great. Hexagons are the best guns, as Hoojimajig said, CPG Gray. Anyway, I'm defining like the staggered pattern of 5 hexagons side by side, and then go up 1 and over 5 more hexagons. This bit over here, this is for editing I made a linear pattern. So that linear pattern, that was a linear sketch pattern, just doing one of these things. I don't actually know how you edit those after you make them. Probably using this thing. Hey, that it is. Sick. So you edit that, and that'll give you the amount of things you can do. But I also made sure to include an editable dimension here, and that just gave me a dimension that spawned this line, which then I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna make that line driven, or that dimension driven, because like that's another thing you can do too with dimensions. You see how it's gray here? That means it's driven. It means that it's like it says, it's not the driving feature. It is not defining this length of the line. The length of the line defines what this sketch will, or this dimension will display. So you can see this guy is 48.5 between like each set row. And that line is defined using, heck, if I probably did something smart somewhere. If I can remember. Oh, that's right. It's actually not even set. It's not even set by any equal relationship. It's all because of these dumb lines. Because I just wanted to make sure things were lined up properly for the hexagons to just do their packing efficiency thing. So that's kind of what's going on there. They're just staggered back every which way. And so, like, that's just the starting of this patterning. So if I were to go back and just exit this sketch, like I have it hidden right now, but if I were to turn it on, you can see it. You'll see like it's just there and it's gray. Now, the real magic comes when you go to the sketch pattern. That's how you get this hollow out. So all that was doing was saying, hey, selections. I want sketch 3 to be my defining point pattern for it, and the features to pattern are just cut extrude right here. Making sure that it's saying, hey, at the center of this part here, like the centroid of it, is going to be located at every single one of, or actually not even the centroid. Every single one of these points is going to have some bit of like this thing put there, and the way it's defined is just saying, hey, here's this point at the center of it, make it pattern the rest of the way. So then you get this cool little honeycomb looking thing for your pre-rendering of it. That looks neat. It's the partial preview. And that's just making it lines so that way it's easier and it's a little less graphically intensive on your graphics card and your Computron. Anyway, hit that check mark. Look at all these hexes. They're so cool. So, you got this thingy. I got this thingy. I got these hex guys. It's asking me to move stuff around. So let's actually do a tutorialized thing, get rid of these thingies, and actually show you how this works. So we have this blank assembly here, right? You have your planes. It's similar to your part setup where you get your planes and your origin. The only difference is that this is a .SLDASM rather than like if we were to go over here, this is a .SLD per. That's just saying that one's an assembly, one's a part. It just means that this guy can be your bucket for a bunch of different parts put together, while the other one is just a bucket for CAD design. So if we go to this button, when we do insert components, you'll see this open documents little guy here, which is like saying, hey, you got these files open. I'm just gonna guess you're probably trying to put an assembly together of them. And it's like, yeah, we are. But in case you weren't, if you click this browse button over here, it'll go to like whatever project you're starting off in. So this is like my full file structure up to this point for it, and that's the assembly. You could try to put it in there, but then it get recursive, and SolidWorks would say you can't put an assembly inside an assembly, because otherwise you'd probably break the CAD. So let me just put this box in there. Now with SolidWorks, if you just click OK, it's gonna put it in the default position, which just means that here, this origin is lined up with that origin, but it's fixed, so it doesn't actually have a mate in there for you. Personally, this is very nitpicky, but I prefer to like just make it a relationship itself, so that way I know what's doing and what's editing. Because if I go here and I just click mate, like origin to origin, if I do coincident and align axis, it knows what I want to do. I just want to have those origins mated. And the only reason I like doing that is that way then I have it listed in a mate as like, here is how this guy is located. So that way, like, if I want to nose through my CAD later and figure out what I did or why I did something, I could say, oh, there's what's going on there, rather than just like, oh, this thing is just fixed in the default position where it just starts off, because it's just, ugh, pain in the butt. So anyway, insert component. Now we want to do these paint holder dudes. So I never really explained the thought process behind what I'm doing here. I am like getting into miniature painting, and my friends like to like go over to each other's houses and like paint, because it's a nice communal thing to do. And I also like to put away my paint stuff because other people live with me and I gotta make sure I'm not in their way when I'm done painting my minis. So I wanted to have like a box to store all my paints in it and then also display them. So the idea behind this is that these guys, like, I could probably do, I don't like doing this. So this is just to illustrate. This is not, just to illustrate the point to all of the 0 people watching. You go here, and then you go here, and you mate those bad boys. Okay, this is surface. Those are surface to surface mates. While they do get the job done, the reason I really don't like them is because, let's say I were to change, ooh, that's a fun problem to deal with later. But let's say I were to change the number of features in this, or if I were to like edit the hex here, or edit this feature, like then it would just break. When I'm talking about using your datums to help define where things are, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Using datums to define these features would mean that you don't run into situations like here. Let's just say if I were to go into this guy and open it up. Let's say, you know what? I don't like the look of this wall here. Let's you know what? Let's just make that 1.5. You know, I'm just feeling like 1.5 is a better dimension for that guy. So again, I didn't edit it in the sketch, so I'm gonna have to regenerate this thing, hit the little stop go light, and then it gets skinnier. And then, oh, what's this? Ooh, it's not happy with me because these guys don't intersect, because you know what? This linear pattern isn't even set up right. Oh, Jamie made some bad choices. So anyway, so if I put that to 25, ooh, you can see, not quite good. So you gotta add that 1.5 there. Now, I could make this all determined by sketch or by equations, which I might do later. For right now, we're just going to do that. But anyway, if I do that and then I go over here, then I'll be like, ooh, stuff changed. Look at that. That's not sitting right, so you got to regenerate it. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it's happy, but oh yeah, because that wall's in there. That's how things work. Yeah, that's how CAD works. See, nobody's perfect, especially me. But like the idea is before I got sidetracked and all, what I just wanted to do is just have it so that way the paints can go like this. You can go, oof, and then you open it up and they go fanning out like that. And it's just, I think that would look cool. This wall is probably gonna have to fall down when it opens up, and then there's gonna have to be a lid that closes up. I'm not entirely sure of the construct for this thing yet. I need to spend some time before I do this again, actually sketching it out and figuring out. Because part of the design process too is making sure you have some kind of rough sketch to go off of. Like, I'm slapping a notepad in front of me. At some point I'll figure out a camera too and actually get that going. But still, nobody's watching, so who gives a crap? But yeah, it's important to have a notepad just so that way you can like sketch stuff or write stuff down, just so that way you can take quick notes. And it's also super important that you have like some base sketch of what you're doing. It's kind of like your outline for a essay that you'd write, or like just a rough sketch, exactly like the name implies. It might not look like the final product, but it'll give you something to reference as you continue the design, so you don't just get bogged down in random details and you get the thing out of your head. And that's a step I need to do. And honestly, I'll probably do that now and just stop streaming, because I just kind of wanted to see if this would work out, and it clearly has been. So, next time, whenever I feel like it, I'll show you more on how this thingy functions. This has been Bingus Design. That's a name I came up with. My name's Jamie. I'm just some guy who likes CAD. I'll